Pharmacy, where you are family.
How would you like to participate in stock market gains with zero risk? Join Lyle Boss of Boss Financial, Friday afternoons at 5 on St. George News Radio, 1450.
If you're the type of person that is always looking for a deal, then don't forget to check out the coupon page on stgeorgenews.com. Find amazing deals from local vendors. Local deals are just a click away. Visit stgeorgenews.com and click on coupons on the menu tab.
This is Kate Dalley, and my show is brought to you by the Piano Gallery, located on the Bloomington exit, right by Bloomington Walmart. You can get a gorgeous piano for a great deal. Talk to John or Jamie. A piano makes a beautiful house a home. Star Nursery has been your premier garden center for over 35 years. Stop by Star Nursery today and experience the Star difference. And Home Flooring Connection. Not only does Home Flooring Connection provide the best flooring around, now they offer window coverings on Bluff Street across from Fabulous Freddy's.
Talk lines are open now. Call 888-673-1450. This is the Kate Dalley Show.
Shaking your faith, I've been broken again and again. But I need all the cracks in my shattered heart, 'cause that's where her love gets in. Every night I should be on my knees. Lord knows how lucky I am.
Nice. Welcome back. All right, we've got Tim on the line. Tim Aalders running against Romney. Thank goodness we've got a great candidate running against Romney. Tim Aalders, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me on.
You bet. All right, Tim, why are you running? Let's hear it. I want to know what made you want to do this, and I'm excited, actually, about your run for Senate. I mean, I'm sorry.
You know, it actually is a long story, but I guess the short version of it is, after running in 2012, I knew that we couldn't afford to have somebody coordinated and an establishment person just given without a conservative challenger. Mm-hmm. And knowing how the Republican system is and how unfair it sometimes can be, I knew Mike Kennedy would not be there on the general election ballot, and I knew Utah deserved to have a conservative on the ballot.
Nice. And you are running as a constitutionalist? Independent?
Constitution Party of Utah.
Yep. All right. And so tell me what you would do differently. What will you do differently than our resident liberal globalist?
You know, the one thing I'm telling everybody, Kate, is that I'm a representative of Utah. And if you expect me to go back there and fix Washington, you can't vote for me, because one person can't fix Washington. But if Utah wants a strong voice, they have to go outside of the establishment. And people don't understand the Senate rules allow every senator the opportunity to speak twice on every piece of legislation. What prevents that from happening is the majority and minority whip of the two major parties say, you're brand new, you can't speak on this, we want you speaking on this. So Utah would have a stronger voice with somebody standing up and saying, where's the money coming from? We can't keep, looking at our citizens of this country in the state of Utah as tax slaves.
Right.
And somebody who can go back to Washington and take the opportunity of an equal time on the Senate floor granted to every party, the difference between rights and privileges.
Right. No, I like that. I think everyone's probably nodding their head.
Yep.
Who has inspired you in politics? What got you into this?
Really, it was my parents, in a way. They were immigrants to America, and as a youth, they refused to teach me their native tongue. They said, you're living in America, you got to embrace the Constitution, embrace the country, because we've both been in German work camps. And we can't embrace socialism in this country. And my mom, just before she passed away in 2010, said, son, you have a big mouth. You're not afraid to say things. You're not afraid of repercussions. You need to wake the people in this country up to socialism that is rising in this country. That was what she said on her deathbed in the hospital.
Aw. Well, you know what? I love that. And I liked your 12 principles of congressional conduct. Put America first, then leave your ego at home. Take the time and make the efforts to do what's right the first time. Practice blameless problem solving. Actively seek to find solutions. Be an open book for constituents can easily read. Listen twice as much as you talk. Speak honest and speak straight and honest, honor commitments, take responsibility, look ahead and anticipate, repair our foundation. And then you call this the WISE principle. W, wake up, become. I, informed and involved. And S, share what you have or what you are learning with anyone who will listen and even those who want. And evolve, E, evolve, change our behavior, become active participants in the world around us. We hear a lot of politicians tell us what we want to hear. How are you different?
Well, I think I still recognize the principle that I'm not the boss, that the people of Utah are the boss. And one of the things I did was sign a pledge that every year I will go out to every county, meet with mayors, city councils, do town halls, meet with all parties who want to meet with me, explain legislation that's coming up, explain where it's coming from, who's paying for it, how I feel it's constitutional, and get the input from the people of Utah. That's the only way to stay grounded. If all you meet with in Washington, D.C. is special interests, lobbyists, and people who want to give you money for legislation, you'll never stay true to the Constitution or to the people you represent.
Yeah, true. What's your take on Senator Hatch and his 100-year career? I mean 40-year career.
Well, I actually ran against Senator Hatch, in 2012. And I found it interesting that Senator Hatch, stated, when he ran first that he's been in there 18 years. What do you do with the senator that's been there 18 years? You call him home. But then he was better. And that's part of what I say. They think that they're in their minds that they are better than everybody else and that they can be benevolent and tell us what's best for us and then use our money to achieve their means. And when I met Orrin Hatch, I could tell what Washington did to him and who he actually represented within 3 minutes of interviewing him on a radio show.
I ditto that because I interviewed him and he laughed about the NDAA. And so what could he have done in 40 years? He could have had a really stellar career where he actually stood up for liberty, where he did things that were liberty-minded, but he chose not to. He kind of went with the status quo, in my opinion. What's your take on that?
Well, in the 108th Congress, the Senate had 55 Republicans, and they were really pushing the balanced budget amendment. And I'm like, you have 55 Republican senators. You can just pass a balanced budget. Yet they fell short like 2 votes to do a balanced budget amendment, but they had enough votes if they would have just proposed a balanced budget. That told me then, during that Congress, that the Republicans had no intention of ever balancing a budget.
Amen, brother. Uncle Milty?
Well, if you were able to, would you change and go back and undo the 17th Amendment?
I would love to. I will at least guarantee the people of Utah, and it's actually my pledge, if I don't do anything that's in my pledge, I've offered to resign my seat if anybody calls me on it. One of the legislations I want to put is to reverse the 17th Amendment and give the power back to the states, because that's how tyranny took over our country, by removing a balance between state and federal.
Yeah. How do you feel about federal funding and our for some reason, our state legislators in general always having their hand out?
Well, I tell people all the time, they ask me, why should we vote for somebody outside of the Republican or Democratic Party? I say, I can give you 21 trillion reasons, not including, unfunded liabilities, and $3 trillion on the state level, that we are not your piggy bank. And unfortunately, our founders warned us of this, Kate, that if we kept allowing government to utilize the people for money for special interests or for special recognition, that it would never end. And that's what we're at today. Nothing that government does is within the authority of government to do, and we have to pay for it all because one small minority group demands special recognition or special funding.
It's true. You'll have some listeners out there right now who are typically your Republican voter. If they see an R, they're more likely to vote for the R, and that's why Romney is in the position he is. What do you want to tell those voters? Because they want to feel comfortable with going outside the norm for them. What would you tell them?
I'm actually still a registered Republican. If you look at the filing online at the Lieutenant Governor's office, I am unique in history. I didn't change who I was. The Constitution Party accepted that. The lieutenant governors checked with them. You're still voting for a Republican. You're not breaking your vow to the Republican Party. But this is where the party systems are bad for America. They're private organizations. Last election cycles, between the two parties, they had over $6.8 billion granted to them from special interests. And if we think that we're ever going to change America back to where we're less taxed and less governed, then we have to go outside of the norm. And going outside of the norm doesn't mean we're going to turn the country over to the Democrats, because no Democrat in the state of Utah has ever achieved more than 27% on a general statewide election. Right. So the winner will be between me and Mitt Romney, and you have to decide whether you want the status quo or if you want a voice, at least in Washington, who's going to stand for freedom, liberty, and states' rights.
Yep, amen. We either get a Hatch redo, which nobody wants, and that's the whole reason he's not running again and wanted to, is because he could see the numbers and knew that we were not going to be behind him again. And Tim, if I were to ask you, is there any senator who's doing it right? Do we have a senator doing it right? Do we right now in office?
We have some senators that are voting right, but I go well beyond the vote, as you probably do, Kate.
Right.
I look at actions. Words don't mean anything to me. A vote don't mean anything to me. I've missed the legislation that every person who wanted to represent us in Washington has promised us. They haven't even attempted to do it. Now, I'm not saying they could get anything passed, but they have the world's largest pulpit. And they could speak to every American on, look what Utah's doing. We actually submitted legislation to end the Department of Education. We actually submitted a request to have Ruth Bader Ginsburg removed from the Supreme Court. We're trying. Make your senator try. And that's what I'm not seeing from anyone. And that's why I can say we have about 7 that vote correctly, but we don't have 7 that are putting their actions behind their words.
That's true. And a lot of people are looking at you. They did not want to vote for Romney and feel like you are the choice. I mean, there's just no way about it. You're it. And I love some of your ideas going in. Do you want to give me like a quick 1 minute on your view on the Second Amendment, your view on health care?
Okay, well, my 2 minutes on the Second Amendment is I supported it. It should be uninfringed. They shouldn't mess with the Second Amendment at all. We'll give rocket launchers to 12-year-olds in the Middle East as a government, but we don't want any of our citizens holding a magazine that holds over 10 rounds. Why? Because if we ever wake up to the corruption that exists in Washington, we can use it against them exactly as the founders intended.
Yeah.
Now, we've been promised by every Republican they could repeal Obamacare. They could have done it this Congress in the 108th, in the 109th, maybe not, because, no, they could have, because they still had a Republican president. They do not want to repeal Obamacare. Everything should be competition among the private sector. Government should not be involved in our health care. It's not a right. It's, government wants us to believe it's a privilege granted by them.
Yeah. You're right. You're absolutely right. Healthcare? 30 seconds on healthcare?
Healthcare system is horrible. I mean, let's face it, but part of the reason it's horrible is we have a monopoly of healthcare providers in different states that have divided up our country, so there's no competition to drive the cost down, and our government, which is supposed to not allow monopolies, have allowed it. And government should not be involved in healthcare. They should allow free markets to intervene in healthcare, and we should stop providing for people that didn't come to this country legally, so normal people who have to pay for the private sector health care can afford their health care without having to subsidize 2 other people.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I want to remind everybody, I think the very obvious of the last 15 minutes. Everything that you just said in the last 15 minutes, Tim Aalders, running for Senate, we did not hear Romney say one single word of that. And I just want to remind everybody, you never heard anything Tim just said, which is right on the money, aligns with our Constitution, everything we should be standing for as an American. He never mentioned one thing that you just mentioned in the last 15 minutes. It's very powerful if people realize what he's actually saying and what he's not saying.
Well, Kate, you know why. You've interviewed enough politicians to know if they put it out there in the air, then they can't change their mind because somebody could call them on it. So the least you can say, the better off you are. I don't know why people buy that.
I don't either.
Because people can now hold me accountable because they can say, well, you told us on Kate Dalley that you would do the legislation. Why aren't you doing it?
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. I mean, this is so obvious. It's so obvious that I hope everybody runs to the polls to vote for you. I really, really do, because from everything he didn't say, from everything that he espouses and everything he espoused in Massachusetts and the fact that he's using Utah to get in there to do some things, I just can't even believe Utah would fall for him. So I'm so proud of you. I'm glad that you're running. Tim Aalders, you can go to timaalders.com and you can check out everything that he's saying. He does put it all out there. I will say that. And you need volunteers and you need funding. Correct?
Yeah. Well, you know, Kate, I have put $100,000 of my own money into this campaign.
Wow.
And people say that was stupid or insane. But I look at it this way. I lost my daughter a year ago.
Oh,
and
sorry.
When I meet my maker, I want to tell him that I did everything I could to save his Constitution. And so I want to be with my daughter again. And so I'm just not going to that's the actions behind the words, Kate. I'm willing to sacrifice like our founders. I'm willing to put everything I have into this campaign because I believe in the people of Utah. And it's not my campaign, it's yours. I'm your tool.
Thank you.
And if you don't recognize that with the politicians, then you have something wrong. Duchesne just endorsed me with their whole city council mayor.
Right.
Because I'm the only candidate who even went to that county.
Right. Thank you so much, Tim. I really appreciate it. Tim A. Aalders, we're out of time, but thank you so much. Tim A. Aalders, definitely cast a vote. Thank you. Appreciate that. Be right back.
At Smiles Restored, they love making people smile. It's the reason they do what they do. But don't just take their word for it. Their patients say it best.
Super good experience. The prices are the best. I looked into several places within 300 miles, and Smiles Restored was the best.
The doctor and his assistant were so warm and friendly, and they were so knowledgeable and skilled. They were attentive to all of my needs.
And those are just a few of over 100 Google reviews for Smiles Restored. They know how important your smile is. Their team of highly trained dentists, Dr. Hansen, Dr. Staples, and Dr. Curtis, are committed to not just improving your smile, but making it affordable too. With years of experience and a skilled staff, their number one focus is running a highly efficient dental office. That allows them to pass the savings on to you and yet confidently maintain the highest quality service. For great dental work at a price you'll love, call Smiles Restored in St. George and Cedar City for a free consultation today. 688-2772. 688-2772. Or online at smilesrestoredofutah.com. 93.1 FM, 1450 AM. KZNU St. George. 93.1 FM. Cedar City. KAZZ Parowan. KCLS HD4 Leeds.